what is rigging? That's what this whole thing is about. We're going to find out. So rigging is essentially the action of adding ways to control a mesh. So if you actually, let me go back here, click on this. That is what the mesh looks like normally. That's how I modeled it. Now with this armature I have here, I can control the mesh, and an armature is a collection of these little things called bones. All right, each bone has two poles, right here and right here, and the body in between them. So you can move a bone around by moving its pole, like that, or like this, or moving the whole bone by clicking there and moving the whole thing. All right, and so if we go out of edit mode, we'll go back here. You can once you have a armature connected to a mesh, you can pose each of your bones. So I can rotate these guys, and all of his children up here will follow him. Right? I can go down here. I can rotate this guy on the y-axis, and I got a nice little cool robot arm. So you have an armature and you have a mesh. How do you connect the two? Or how does each bone tell the mesh to go in certain ways? Well, with that, we have what's called weight painting, or each bone has a certain amount of territory on the mesh that's called its weight. So if I go into object mode here, click on this, go into weight paint mode, you'll see that each of these objects has a specific amount of weight. Now it's on a scale from red to blue. And if you look in the workshop outline, there's like a little cylinder that kind of has more of the colors that show up. Right now, I have done what's called a vertex weight painting. So I've selected each of these parts of the model here. So like this cube here is just one square. This is a cylinder. This is another cube. This is a cube. This is a sphere. This is a cylinder, cube, cylinder, a bunch of separate shapes essentially. When you're editing this, you can go in and select each of those vertex groups, so that's what they're called. It's like one shape is a single vertex group, and you can assign vertex groups to weights. That's a simple way of doing it with very simple looking shapes. Later, if you wanted a more organic thing or a mesh that doesn't have multiple parts like this, you'll have to do weight painting, which is when you go in and assign weights to specific vertices on the mesh. So that's where you end up with something that looks a little bit more like what's in the outline. So I can control click and go through and see here what has what weights, what has territory over this. So this bone here controls this cylinder and this cube 100% and nothing else at all, 0% on everything else. So that's where you see the red and the blue. If it was 50% on something, it would be kind of green. If it was 75, it would be yellow. If it was 25, I believe it's like a light blue color, or maybe like purple. I don't remember exactly. But we're mainly going to be focused on this red and blue. Now we're going to move on to the fun part of this. We're going to learn how to rig a model. So in most games you guys are probably going to be making, your character models are going to be what you're going to be wanting to rig. And most characters in games tend to not be robot arms. They tend to be people, or at least humanoid figures. So we're going to go over today how to rig a humanoid figure. So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to show us our humanoid right here. There we go. So I have imported this, or I made this in this file. Everyone else is going to have to import an FBX file of this. Okay, yeah, so I just want you to have it downloaded for right now. We'll get into importing in just a second. So everybody has it downloaded from what I can see. Everyone seems good. All right, so we're gonna move on. All right, so, no, gross. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this. So when to import, we're gonna go to our file. Can everyone still see this? Yeah, we're good, okay. So we're gonna go to file, import, and then this is an FBX file, so you're gonna wanna select FBX. That will open up this to wherever you have Blender. This will probably be in your downloads folder, so you'll want to go to downloads. For me, it's just in my documents folder, so I don't have to do that. It should be called Rig Dude. FBX. So do that. And then once you have that selected, you can just select import. So now it should import. And that's giving that weird shape because I have two of them overlaid like that. So I'll just delete the one that I just imported. We're going to start by clicking numpad 3. So numpad 3 will take you to a perfect side view of your model like that. So it should look nice and flat. And if you hold shift and your middle mouse button, you can move around in it. So if I just click mouse button, I'll get out of it. But if I do that and I click shift mouse button, middle mouse button, I can move around freely. All right. Then we'll want to hit Z and go to wireframe mode. Without the keypad, there should be this gimbal right here. So you're going to want to click the X part of the gimbal. There should be in one that's not labeled X. That's the opposite side. But you're going to want to click the one that's labeled X. Now we are going to go to press Z and go to wireframe. Then we're going to do Shift A or go up to the add bar right here and select armature. So add or Shift A is a shortcut for add armature right there. And there's a bone. Now, before we do anything else, go up to our armature properties, object properties tab here. And under viewport display, select in front. So now we have that. So now that we've selected in front, we don't need wireframe anymore. So we can go back to solid. So now if I move this around, it'll be in front of the mesh, no matter where it is, even if it's inside of it. So we'll always be able to see our bones. So now that we have our bone there, we're going to want to hit tab to go into edit mode. Now this is important. So make sure, especially for later, if you don't want your model to be like kind of broken later, make sure that whenever you are moving this, you leave the origin right there at the center. Don't move the bone yet. In object mode, we're going to go into edit mode with tab. Then we're going to move the bone. This is very important. Now that we've gotten the bone, we can go back. We're in edit mode. We have the bone. We can go back to a side view. And we want to place this bone. We can use both of our poles to kind of angle it a little bit. Come on. All right, so we should be able to move our bone around just a little bit. Your bone shows up somewhere behind him. Do you have your 3D cursor, this little red and white dotted line thing? All right, so we're gonna want to take our north pole here, have that so it's a bit bigger, put it about where the pelvis is where we want this bone. Want this about where the pelvis is, right about there. Then G is scaling the bone. Do you have, oh, are you clicking the top part of it? Because if you are, then it will move the pole and that will scale the bone up with size. You got to make sure that you click the center of the bone to move the whole bone. Now we're going to want to select our top pole and do Shift E to extrude. That's Shift E. All right, and you can click middle mouse button to align it to a certain degree here. So if I want to go straight up, I can just click middle mouse button, hold it to straight up, and now it's locked on that Z axis. So now we want to have a second spine bone here for our abdomen. And you add more bones by clicking this down here, what we did. I'll do it again for the chest here in just a second. So we're going to do Shift E to extrude and add a new bone. Right, like just like that. So now we should have 3 spine bones right down the center. That's what yours should look like, somewhat like. All right, so now that we have our 3 main spine bones, we're going to make the neck bone. So for this, we're going to make another bone, extend it not all the way up into the neck, make it about halfway up into the neck from where we are now. Then we're going to want to go to the bone tab over here in our properties window where my mouse is. go to the bone tab. We're going to undo this parent here. So this bone right here has a parent. We're going to click this X to remove its parent. All right, now our bone is moving free of a parent. So we can put it right there in our neck. So we have some chest bones and a neck bone. Once we have our neck bone, we can Shift E again to make our head bone, just like that. And you can adjust to where the neck and the head meet. I'm going to move mine down just a little bit right there. So now we have all of our spine bones. So now that we have all of our spine bones, we're going to go back and name all of our spine bones. So I'm going to call this head. Call this one neck. Now you can name them in the bone tab. If you just go up to the top, it should have a little bone symbol and a thing right there where the bone's name is. Name this one my chest. I'm going to name this one my abdomen. And we're going to name this one the booty. That's our booty bone. That's what we shake when we're having a good time. All right. So now we're going to go back to the neck bone that we've named everything. And we're going to, oh, something didn't get named right. The parent thing. Okay, so yeah, every bone has a parent. So this bone here, whenever I move this bone, all of its children, which are currently just this other bone here, will move with it. If I move this bone here, its two children, these two, will move with it. To move a bone, so if I move this bone here, these other two bones will move. Aha, that's why. Let me select, come on. There we go. Haha. So now I've deleted that extra bone. So if we move this bottom parent bone, you'll see in the hierarchy here that each of these has a child. So if I move the booty bone, all these other two bones will move. If I move the abdomen, then its child, the chest, will move, and so on. If I move the neck right now, the head will move because that's its only child. If a bone has no parent, then nothing will move that bone other than the bone moving itself, or you in pose mode moving the bone. So we want to connect the neck bone back to the spine. So we're going to go back into parent, and we're going to select the chest bone. So now you should see a little dotted line connecting these two bones. And the reason we unparented them was so that we could move the neck bone up a little bit, so we have the distance between them. Make sure whenever you reparent it back, you have that connected checkbox if you want them to be connected like that. So if you want this dotted line, don't have the connected if you do.
So the parent field is empty, but the bones are moving with each other when I move them.
Are
All right,
you
thank
sure
you.
you're looking at the bone tab and not the object tab? It's got the little
I might
green
be.
bone icon instead of the orange box.
Where's the bone icon?
It should be at the bottom of the properties tab. So if you
Bottom.
look in Zoom where my mouse is, right there.
Gotcha. Okay, that is what I was missing. I was in
Okay.
the other tab. All right, thank you.
All right, cool. All right, now we're gonna move on. So next step is making our arms and our hands. So we're gonna click the top pole of our chest bone. We're gonna hit Shift E. We're gonna middle click to assign it to an axis, the X axis. We're gonna put it right about to where the shoulder is. I'm gonna make it a little bit shorter because we're gonna do the same thing we did with the neck. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna unparent it. Gonna do X over. Put it about, maybe go up a little bit with Z. Put it about where your collarbone is on this guy. So we have it right there. All right. Now we're gonna go click on its pole, Shift E again, put our forearm bone right about into the elbow right there. Then we're gonna, or that's our bicep bone, my bad. We're going to put our forearm bone to right about there. Don't worry if these don't exactly align, we can fix that in a minute. So then we're going to want to, these don't have individual fingers to make this a little bit easier. So we're going to have our hand bone about there, finger 1, and a finger 2, and maybe even a finger 3. There we go. And then from our hand bone, we can maybe move that back a little bit. Shift E out just to give ourselves a thumb bone. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. So now we have 2 bones for our thumb, 3 bones for fingers. We can kind of edit this a little bit, make sure we get them all right and lined up with our mesh. So kind of just go through, click G or whatever your move button is, and move your bones around until they look nice and good. Oh. Undo that. All right. And there we have a basic hand. Now we're going to want to go through and name them, and also parent this back to the chest bone like we did with our neck. Don't forget to do that. So call this clavicle. We're going to call this one bicep. Call this forearm. This will be our hand. This can be finger 1. This can be finger 2. This can be finger 3. This can be thumb 1. And this can be thumb 2. There we go. Now, because we're only going to do the left half of the body for right now, if I didn't mention this before, we're only going to do the left half for right now. Because of that, that is because we're going to later mirror this section of the body over so we don't have to do the work twice with what's called symmetrize. So that symmetrize can mirror our bones correctly, we need to add a .L to the left, to all of our left bones. So the spine does not need this because it's in the center, but all of our arms and leg bones are going to need a .L after .L. This can be lowercase or uppercase, whichever you want to do. Just make sure you keep it consistent. There we go. So now we have all of our arm bones. All of them are connected to each other where they need to be. They're all named and they have their .Ls, which is very important. So now that we made our arms, we're going to move on to our legs and feet. So to start this, we're going to go to our pelvis bone. We're going to do E, Shift E, whichever you want. And extrude this down to about the knee. It's right about there. Going to do our same old. We're going to take, is this not parented already? I guess it's not. This is not parented. Going to move it over to about where our knee is, right there. You want this to be at about where the hip is. So you don't want to be like down here where the leg just starts. You want to have it up a little bit because you got to remember that part of legs kind of extend up here into the glutes and all that jazz. So this actually might want to come up a little bit. All right. Once we have that, we're going to go ahead and parent this to our booty. Where's the booty bone? Right there. There we go. Then we're going to do our shin. Shift E, down again. About there. Go into a side view. Get a better look. Shift E again. Want to have an angle here, probably, to give the arch of the foot. And then we want to do this one more time for our toes. And probably go out a little bit more with that. There we go. Now we have our foot. And we can rotate this. Now we have the whole left side of our rig. Good thing to do here is just kind of go through and make sure everything's good and where you want it. And if you want to make minute adjustments with all this stuff, it's very helpful to use shift while you're moving something. So if I hit G on this, this is without shift. I'm not holding it down right now. So then if I hold shift, it's very much more minute and finite, or I don't know, fine motors skills. You guys know what I mean. All right, now we're gonna go through and we're gonna name all these. So we got our hip.l. You call it femur if you want to. Shin.l, foot.l, and toes.l. There we go. So now we have all our bones. They're named. We're good. So now that we've gotten our legs and feet, we're going to move on to the bit of the complicated section. So these are called constraints. So this is on top of an armature and bones. This is another way to maneuver your mesh and whatever is with what's called constraints. And we can add these or specific types of these to bones to help our armature move more naturally. Because if we go into pose mode right now, if I want to like raise this guy's leg, I'm gonna have to that's just rotating it. It doesn't really want to work right. Essentially, it's a pain in the ass to get all this working correctly without this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically make our joints around the knees and the elbows go really smoothly. So all we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have a little extra bone here off the heel that we can grab and we can move it up and down wherever we want the foot to be. And then the knee will move accordingly. And we'll do the same thing for the wrist of the hand. So to do this, we're going to select this pivot point here. Whoop, we need to get out of pose mode. Be in edit mode. Select this point here at where your knee is. I'm gonna move mine up just a tad. Make sure it is, if you are in the front view or side view, moved forward a little bit. You do not want it to be straight down like that. You want to move forward a little bit. Then you're going to do Shift E, take this bone out. Do the same thing at the heel. Take this bone backwards, just like that. Then we're going to unparent both of these bones, right there. And then we're going to uncheck the deform box. This is important because we do not want these bones. These are special helper bones. We do not want them affecting how our mesh moves and stuff. That's what our main bones are for. So we don't want them to deform our mesh. So we're going to uncheck deform. Now we're going to move the knee bone out in front of our mesh. You can use about the y-axis is probably what everyone's lined up on. Like that. So it's out a little bit further out, like about there. And then we're going to name our bones. So we're going to go to, we're going to name this heel IK, because it's going to be used for our inverse kinematics, .L, because we're going to want to copy this over to the right side later. So this one's going to be knee IK for inverse kinematics, .L, because we'll need to copy it over to the right side later. Now, for the symmetrized stuff, if you were doing this side of the body, you just need to, instead of .L, just call it .R, and then whenever you symmetrized it, throw it on the other side. That's all it's doing, is just which is the left and which is the right side. All right. So now we're going to want to go to pose mode. I don't know the hotkey for this, so I'm going to just tell everybody to go up here to where edit mode is said and go to pose mode. All right, then we're going to select our shin. Under the bone tab in the properties panel over here, there's a bone with like a chain on it. It's the bone constraint tab. We're going to click on the bone constraint tab. We're going to go to add a bone constraint. We're going to select inverse kinematics. So under target, we're going to select armature. This is armature 001 for me. It's whatever your armature is. It's probably called armature. I had the robot arm thing. That's what armature here is for me. So I'm going to select armature.001. And you're going to select armature.001. Then I'm going to select the heel bone for this first one. There we go. So armature, heel. So now if we move this, we get wonky stuff. And this is causing our model to do some crazy stuff, which we're going to fix. So if we go back here, go to pole target, go to armature, whichever one yours is, mine's .001. Then we're going to select knee, ik.l, right there. Uh-oh. And then we're going to set our chain length to 2, just like that. Now this might set off your foot like mine's rotated off right there. You're going to just use the pole angle here to set it back. So usually degrees of 90 will fix this. Looks like I need to do -90. There we go. No issues. I have my knee. It's working well. Doing cool stuff. Looks like a normal knee, right? Only issue is this kind of comes off. And now what do you can't click and drag it. You need to just click it and then hit G, remember. You have to hit G to move stuff. That's your grab tool. So you'll see how my cursor here is a little mouse button. If I click G, it'll turn into that little 4 arrows. That's how I know I've grabbed something, and then I can move it around. The pole angle is for, so if whenever I start this, whenever I added it, my foot ended up looking like that. So that's because it just does that. I don't exactly know why. I think it's because it's aligning itself to the degrees of the knee. So sometimes it'll rotate your foot. To put your foot back where it was, sometimes you need to mess around with the pole angle. It's different for everybody, but it's usually degrees of 90. So like 180 or 90 or -90. So I think mine, for me, it was -90, and it sets it right back. Now we'll want to go into edit mode and pair the foot and the heel together. So we're trying to fix the issue of having this heel part come off. So we're going to shift select both of these. We're going to do Control P, do keep offset right there. We're going to go back to pose mode. Right there, it should be connected, and then there should be one called keep offset. It makes sure that whenever you move the heel around, it'll move the foot with it. So that whenever, because basically what you're going to be doing once we have this IK set up, you're not going to have to mess around with the arms or the legs when you're posing. You're just going to have to mess around with the heels and the wrists, and that'll make posing so much easier, trust me. It's very nice. You only have to rotate this around. So if we go back to pose mode, I'll show you what it does. If I rotate this, it should. So
Mitchell, when you pull the heel like really far away, does it just disconnect from the shin?
yes, it does. That is what's supposed to, what's going to happen right now. Because what we did was we assigned the this guy here to this, or basically connected these 2 bones here to each other. So now whenever we move the heel, it moves the bone or the foot. So what we're going to do is, since we can't parent the foot here to the shin anymore, what we're going to do is we're going to add another constraint. We're going to click on the foot. We're going to add bone constraint, copy location, should be green, target, armature, bone, shin. And then we're going to set the head tail to 1 so that we're at the tail of the bone. And now the heel comes off, but the foot stays. Right, but if we have control over the foot, and we have this, and we're all good. We got what we wanted. Now we're going to do the same thing for the arms. So I'm going to go into edit mode, select this guy, move him back just a tad. We're going to shift E, extrude out a elbow, shift E, extrude out that. Should we do that connect thing for the heel so it doesn't fly off? Yes. Okay. So going back, what you're going to want to make sure you do in edit mode is select the foot first, then select the heel, then do Control P, and then select keep offset. If you do the heel first, you're going to end up with that thing, the issue that I and some other people are having, where it turns into a tornado of terror.
Mitchell, do you recommend using copy location on the heel and the foot so that way the heel doesn't leave the foot?
I would not do it on the heel because you want the heel to kind of be free to move around, so you can kind of pose it. And usually if you just like it limits, like the foot's not going to move any further than that. So if you just move the heel, this is just going to stay basically where it is. Once it's past that point at the end there, it's not going to change the foot anymore. So this is at its furthest out, and then once I'm past that point to where this is coming off, it's not actually really adding any more. It is moving it, but it's not moving it like it would. Like if I could still just have it like attached, and it would do the same thing, basically. What I'm trying to say is that it has no real importance if you have it copy location to the heel stay there or not. It doesn't really matter. It's just easier to have it to where it comes off. It's not a big deal. And now that we're sort of familiar with this, we're going to do it again so everybody gets some practice on the arms. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to name it to our elbow ik.l. This is our wrist ik.l.
Should we be doing this in pose mode or edit mode?
Naming you can do in either. Edit mode is probably what you actually want to be in though. That was my bad. Because what you're going to want to do next is take off the parents, just like we did last time. Make sure you undo the deform key, the deform box, so that's not deforming anything. You want to leave the wrist attached. You want to take the elbow, which is going to be your pull target. You need to move that out back to where you want the, basically what you want this to bend towards. So if we move our knee around, the knee bends towards this knee IK right there. So when we bend our elbow, we want the elbow to bend toward our elbow IK. So that's why it's out there, because it's like it's what it's bending towards. So now we're going to go into, once we have it set up like that, we're going to then go into pose mode and do our bone constraints again. We're going to go to inverse kinematics. Have this set up so that it's armature, wrist. Then we're gonna, for the pull target is armature, the bone is your elbow, which is this bone out here. We're gonna make sure that we have our pull angle set so that our hand right there is set up correctly, because sometimes it rotates. There's a dashed line between your elbow and the joint. Yeah, that means that your elbow is still parented to that joint. You want to go into your elbow and edit mode and get rid of the parent. Now that we have this set up, we're going to want to do the keep offset for our hand and our wrist. So we're going to go here, click on this, make sure you click on the hand first. We don't want a tornado of terror. Control P, keep offset. Now we should be able to go back to pose mode, check to see if that worked. Please God, tell me it worked. Yeah, it's not dying in a blaze of glory, but now our hand will detach. So that's a problem. How are we going to fix that? We're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to go to bone constraint, copy location on the hand, so the hand should turn green. Target, armature, bone. This time we're going to make it the forearm. There we go. And now it's at the tail, or I guess the head of the bone. So we want to move it to the tail, which to do that, we need to set head tail to 1. So now it's all the way back out at the tail. And that should take care of it. So now you have an arm and a leg that are completely IK'd up. And you'll notice some issues with how, if your legs are kind of bending in odd, wonky ways, make sure you can always move around your knee and elbow so you can see how it's moving my bone there in the middle. Your arm isn't rotating at the elbow for some reason. In what way? So is it like, is it not bending like that, or is this not rotating?
No, it's not bending.
Do you have your IK set up so that the pull target is the elbow?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Is it parented at all? Is there like a dotted line here?
Nope.
Okay. Is your chain link set to 2?
Yep.
All right. That's interesting. What's your pull angle?
It's at 180 actually, because that's the only way it got the hands to be back in place.
Okay. So, I don't know what could be causing that. Maybe just try resetting and
Okay.
like just take everything off and try putting it back on again. That works sometimes.
Alrighty.
Oh yeah, that might be the issue if you don't have your elbow straight. If you have your elbow that's straight and you don't have a little bit of a bend in it, once everybody, it won't let me select armature. That's odd. Are you in pose mode? I guess you would have to be. There's no armature that's coming up, or is it coming up but it's just not letting you select it? Try like deleting the constraint with the little X up here, right here, and then adding it again and see if that helps. No, okay. I have no idea. Blender is a finicky program sometimes. So your elbow bends backwards. Okay. That might be an issue with your pull angle. So if I set my pull angle on this to, I guess 180 from here would be 90. Set to 90, and then I do this. It'll bend backwards like that. But you'll see that my my hand like that is, it looks fine, but the elbow is pointed out and towards the front instead of the back. So I want it to be -90 so that it lines up right with the arm. And it's bent towards my pull target out there. So now it'll bend towards that pull target. There's a dashed line from the forearm to the pelvis. When I chose pull target, it gets really funky. Yeah, that's your chain link. You want to set that to 2. It should fix the issue. All right, so now that we've gotten that, we're going to go to edit mode. So we're done pretty much with the left side. It's all complete. So now we're going to do the right side in about 3 seconds. So we're going to select all the bones on the left and make sure you don't select the spine bones. We're going to be in edit mode. We're going to right click and we're going to click Symmetrize. And there we go. That should take care of it. You might have issues with your pull angle. So that issue where the elbow was bending backwards or whatever that some people are having, that might happen on your knees or something. So you just need to go in and rotate your pull angle 180 degrees to fix it. And you might have some bending backward issues on your joints, which can be fixed by going into pose mode. I'll see if any of mine have the issue. Basically what will happen is you'll have, if I go here to this one, set this pull angle to 90, you'll have, sometimes it'll copy it like this, where it's backwards, and it'll bend backwards. To fix it, you just want to make sure you go into pull angle, set it to 180 degrees the other way for 90. I could do 270 or just -90. And there we go. Now it should be set right, bends the correct way, all good. So now we have an armature and we have a mesh. How are we going to connect them? Well, in the old world, we would have to physically go out and weight paint this, which would take forever and be annoying. Now we can just go to object mode, select our armature, select our mesh, Control P, never mind. We're going to select our mesh, and then we're going to select our armature, and then we're going to do Control P. That's what it is. So mesh, and then armature, and then Control P. And then we're going to select the option to do with automatic weights. You can't select anything in object mode for some reason. That's a new one for me. I don't know of that ever happening.
Make sure the collection eyeball in the hierarchies turned on. Like the whole collection.
Okay.
You see in the hierarchy on the top right?
Yeah, so up here. So make sure you have this checked.
No, the eyeball.
Oh, the eyeball, right, my bad. Now you should be able to go, if you want to take a look at what the weight paints look like, you can select both of them and go to weight paint. And now this shows me, but you've got to control click. Make sure whenever you're going around here, you control click. Because if you don't, you'll weight paint and that will fuck your model so hard. It'll be destroyed and it's a pain. Make sure you control click. So yeah, you can go around here, see where everybody has weights. And there we go. We can just go to object mode, click on this, go to pose mode. Now I can move that and my arm moves with it. Yeah. He's scratching some records. Your wrists are deformed, but you're deformed checked off. Well, it should deform. It should just be that the wrist is not controlling what's getting deformed. It's the hand. Your wrist is moving the hand though. So you'll see all these bones here are deforming the wrist, or they're deforming and everything. There we go. And now we have a model, and I can wave to everybody. Yeah, good job everybody. You did so great. If you do want to mess around with weight painting, what you'll do is basically you can like click on each vertex here. So like where each vertex is, and you can click it multiple times to give it like more strength or whatever. But whenever you do that, a quick thing to remember is always check auto normalize. Because if you do not check auto normalize, you'll end up with two bones controlling the same part of the mesh, or multiple bones, more than two, controlling the same part of the mesh. So if I have my leg controlling this vertex here, and my abdomen controlling it, and my head controlling it, if I try to move all three of those, this point will try to find the average location between all three of those points, because they each have basically ownership over it. And if you do that a couple places, your model will turn into some sort of like static looking monster, and you won't know what to do. It will get very messy very quickly. So make sure you click auto normalize if you ever go into weight painting. Can I like box select the entire thing all at once, but I can't select one and the other? Will that cause problems? As long as you like box select to where you'll hit the armature first, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like box select worked for me. So I think you're good. Just as long as you can go up here to object mode and click weight paint, you should be perfectly fine.
Is there a way to send like a screenshot through Discord? Maybe that would be
I can
easier.
take off share screen real quick if you just want to put yours up there.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Can you select your armature?
Is it something with the weights?
Oh, okay. I know what's happening. So, or do I? No, I don't know what's happening. Okay. For a second, I thought I knew what was happening.
Either check your pull angle or the roll of each bone.
So you should be able to click on, go to pose mode to check that. So pose mode, click on your yellow bones and go to that, and you should be able to check your pull angle there. There we go. Yeah, I fixed it.
What do you do to reset the positioning of stuff?
Alt G and Alt R. Alt G will get
Okay.
rid of translations. Alt R will get rid of rotations, and then if you somehow scaled a bone, Alt S will get rid of scales.
So the only problem with changing the pull angle is now the elbow doesn't bend towards that bone.
Okay, so
Make sure that in edit mode, it's the elbow is ever so slightly bent out in the direction you want to go in.
yeah,
Oh.
just like that. Yeah, there you go. Pose mode.
Does your
Thanks.
bone have a rotation on its own? Because that's what it looks like right now.
It looks, yeah, I think you're, did you,
Like click on your forearm, do Alt R.
I think I know what's happening. I think the pole angle was an issue, and then you paired it to weights after you paired it to weights, and then you did pole angle stuff afterwards. Because if you rotate your bones once it's attached to your mesh, you'll start actually like deforming your mesh. So you might need to copy the mesh and then delete it and then so you have another one there.
Did
So-
you already check edit mode to see if it was bent slightly?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dell.
Yeah.
And then super quick question. What do you press to select all of the bones?
A for all. And then if you want to deselect all the bones, I believe it's Alt A. All right. So some extra bonus stuff is I'm gonna go over how to rig things that are not humans. So we can take. So if you want to rig things that are not humans, you basically want to just use like theory and stuff, or not even theory, but just like laws of nature and stuff, like what is going to bend, what's going to move. Now that you guys have kind of taken a look at how this all works, we can see that, like, you know, a bone needs to be where there is like a joint. So there's a joint in the shoulder. That's why we have a clavicle bone here. There's a joint in the elbow. There's joints in all the fingers. So where are the joints in your object? A helpful thing to look at if you're doing an animal or something in nature is a skeleton, because there are literal skeletons that you can just base your skeletons off of. So we can take a look at the robot arm real quick. There we go. So then we can take a look at this. So where on this robot arm did I want it to move? I want it to move at the joint here, here, at this little mini joint here. Then I have joints for all these fingers. So that's where I pretty much put my bones. If it's since you're the one in control of where the bones are going to be moving for their animations, you don't really have to worry about, like, so if I go into pose mode for this guy here.
Yeah, so I finally got it to let me select things where it wasn't doing that for some reason. But now when I do the selecting the mesh and the armature and Control P and then the with automatic weights thing, it doesn't get a weight paints thing to show up. Instead, a little window type thing shows up at the bottom saying make parent. That's it.
Are you in edit mode or object mode?
Object mode.
Okay. Did you select the mesh first and then the armature?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's important somehow. So you have to select the mesh first, do the armature, Control P. Did you select the automatic weights thing?
Yep.
Okay, so now you should just be able to select your armature first and then your mesh, and then go up to the top where the pose mode thing is, or object mode, and then go down to weight paints.
Okay, I'm just going to undo it and do it one more time and see if it just works. Okay, so this time it showed up. Okay. Oh.
All right, cool. We're solving problems even if we don't really know what we're doing. What I was saying about this is you don't have to, if you have like a constrained joint, like these seem like there's not, this bone here is not going to move. Let me see. It doesn't look like it's supposed to move like that, right? But since you're in control of the animation, you just don't move it like that. You can move it like that, but you don't have to. So that's just something to think about whenever you're doing things, is you don't have to really worry about omnidirectional or like which way is my joint going. Just like, is there a joint here? Okay, cool. I'm gonna put a bone there, or like a joint between two bones.
What you can do, it's a shortcut. I don't recommend it for most things, except like the machine right here. You can, in the properties menu, lock the XZ rotation, for instance. So you can only, hover over the 3D view, press N.
N, okay.
And then you can lock whatever rotation you don't want to rotate.
Ah, yeah, that's smart. Okay, cool. Thank you. Actually didn't know that. How would we make or animate something that technically doesn't have a bones, like a tentacle or something like that? So see this, let's look at this, take a look at this cylinder here. So if I go down, this is a triangle, very obviously triangle, right? It's very hard edges, but the more edges that I add, the smoother it becomes, right? So it gets almost undistinguishable from a circle if you get up towards like 50 plus. Looks basically like a circle. So we can kind of take that principle and apply it to the bones to make something that seemingly should not have, should kind of move like that. into different parts. So let's go just quickly add some edit modes, add a bunch of these little guys so it can bend everywhere. And then we'll add a armature. Right there. And we'll go to select in front. And we will click the top thing here. Go into edit mode real quick. There we go. And then we can select the whole bone, subdivide, 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 boom. And then go here, make this nice and thin. Take this, then select the mesh, and then the armature, and then Control P, automatic weights. Go to select this, go to pose mode. And it's a little wonky, but it's much more tentacle-like, right, than you would expect it to be. You can basically just kind of line these up to get something that's very quirky and cornery. And there's some stuff you can add in to make sure you don't get so many like little mesh overlaps like that. But yeah, I just thought that was something cool that I could kind of go into. But that's pretty much it for my workshop. Thank you guys for listening and coming.